In a recent video, I talked about how I got away from the horses for a couple years. And after coming back to them, my comfort zone had shrunk. I had a bit of anxiety about being around the horses. So, what had happened was I was 17 years old. My first horse, I saved up money from a paper route and I bought my horse and paid for him with the paper route money that I earned. He was special. He was a special horse, Golden Nugget. He was a Palomino stallion, and I rode him in some shows. I rode him about every day when I was in my mid-teens. He was an older horse when I bought him, and he ended up colicking and getting jaundice. His liver shut down, and at that point, there was nothing the vets could do. We had to put the horse down. And after that happened, going to the barn just didn't have the same appeal to me. It coincided with me going off to college, and so it just worked that during those first couple of years of college, I would ride a couple times a year, and I'd go to the barn and ride a different horse, and it was fun. It wasn't quite the same as riding Nugget, but it was a lot of fun. But for that maybe 2.5 years actually, for that whole period, I was around the horses very little. And then I decided to go out west and learn how to shoe horses. And I did that for the next 50 years. I got a chance to work for a really good man, and he taught me the ropes shoeing horses. And I had the opportunity to work on some really top level performance horses. Anyway, back to my story, I was away from the horses for those 2.5 years. And I went out west to learn how to shoe horses. That was my initial foray into becoming a farrier. And when you're shoeing horses, you're alongside of them, you're in close contact, you're sometimes in vulnerable positions where they might try to bite you or kick you or strike you or whatever. And I found myself very uncomfortable at times. My comfort zone had shrunk. Before, you just nonchalantly walk around the back of them, walk around the front of them, and not even give it a second thought because you're reading the horse as you're going along. You can tell if they're nervous or really high strung or maybe a little cranky and not that friendly. You can see they put their ears back, they're giving you a look. You can see what's going on so far as that goes. And I could still read a horse. You know, once you develop that skill, it's not something that you forget, but you do lose your degree of comfort shrinks to some degree. And that's what happened. And I was really surprised because I was never afraid of horses. And now all of a sudden I'm not comfortable with them, a little hesitant with them. Let's call it what it is. It's fear. And a lot of times that happens with a rider, especially after a long period or even a not so long period of time that they're not around the horses. Once you're around them a lot, you get acclimated to it, and it just becomes very natural and normal, and you don't give it a second thought. But when you're away from them, that comfort zone shrinks, and so it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just we're wired as humans to have a threat detection system inside of our head and search for danger. That's what has kept the human race alive for all these centuries, and it's wired into us. But that being the case, it's really like anything else that you want to learn or get used to, and that's just taking little steps at a time until you develop more confidence, more courage, more comfort in terms of being around the animals. So that's what happened. And that is all a mind game that we're playing. It's easy to overcome these challenges. A little bit of hesitation, a little bit of reluctance, or maybe you are riding and just feel that you're not getting the enjoyment that you once got because you're thinking thoughts of what if this happens, what if that happens. And once you start playing that game, you're going to have some anxiety build up in your system because that's just the nature of how it goes. When you think thoughts that scare you, you're going to become afraid. And so again, it's not a big deal. It's a natural, normal thing. And it's something that's easy to overcome and maybe much easier than you think. Follow me for more. Tom Mulryan, equestrianhypnocoach.com.